Welcome to Pink Kink,
where we talk about the pretty, twisted side of kink.
I'm Princess Rara.
And I'm Dara, the Electro Khaleesi.
Whether you are a new kinkster or have years of experience, Pink Kink will help you level up your kink knowledge.
Join us on this journey as we talk about our personal experiences and use the knowledge we've gained over 28 years of being involved in both private and professional aspects of this lifestyle to help you explore every facet of kink.
Get set for an adventure. Not only will you learn and grow, but we promise loads of laughter, turning each episode into a fun party. So fasten your seatbelt and let's get this show started. Pink Kink runs off the generosity of our devoted patrons.
As a patron, you will become a member of our special Discord server, receive some adorable Pink Kink stickers, as well as have access to a monthly behind-the-scenes podcast. Patrons also get discounts at our Etsy shop, Pink Kink Boutique, and our online classes at Pink Kink Institute.
In addition, our impactful and electrifying Pink Kinksters get special audio and video episodes. And finally, patrons at our highest tier will be recognized as producers, both here on the podcast and on our website.
If you would like to become a patron, you can visit us at patreon.com/pinkkinkpodcast or click the link at pinkkinkpodcast.com.
Today's episode is produced by our electrifying Pink Kinksters. Thank you, Jay, Witcherman, Brianna Lynn, Daddy J, Fabe, Embers, William P, Claire, Lady Blooding, Naughty and Nice, Butte Pain, Manda Panda, Kat, Stefan, Shadow Phoenix, Brian, Make Cry Devil, Ruby Riot, Mistress Velma, Enchanted Sparrow, The Wombat, Impact Hazard, Twitch, The Midnight Girl, Sinful, J21, Daisy If You Do, AK Harley Chick, Violet Rain, Serenity, Belle, Eric, Lady Affliction,
Pumpkin Pie, Ms. Tourmaline, S'more, Hacksaw, Wee Mad Beastie, To Be Better For Me, 3 a.m. Thoughts, Crash Override, Iro, Kinky Bear, Sviper No Swiping, Barbie, Navigator Bard, Frost, Sinful and Naughty, Coffee and Chaos, Noir, Mr. Pillsbury, Stitch, Peaches, Mighty Owl, Princess Sassy Pants, Chaos Monster, Jessa Lady, DJ Harlow, Ophelia, Drew, Daddy's Pumpkin, Birchbeard, Lady to Kitten, Mongoose, Sadia, Forest, and It's Valentine.
I'm going to do something wild and crazy. Ready?
That's
ready?
unusual.
Ready? No shtick. We're just going straight into the subject.
Well, fuck. Okay.
Because this is a really important and timely subject.
I have a question.
Yeah?
Am I going to be yelling a lot during this episode?
I don't know.
Because
The possibility exists.
I've got party hangover, and I think it might be a genuine hangover because I was actually drinking.
Mm-hmm.
So, how is this whole episode another soapbox episode?
Yeah.
Okay, hang on. Okay, there you go.
All right, so here we go. We're going straight into it. I'm going to give a little caveat here. We are doing this right now because of the timeliness, and Dara is allowing me to fuck up everything we had planned in order to hurry up and get this episode in. So can we get a round of applause for Dara giving in to my insanity and working her ass off to make sure this is recorded in time?
Yes, pause for applause. Y'all better be clapping.
Yeah.
I know you're driving, but just,
a one-handed clap works. Just smack your hand
the
on the steering wheel. That's fine.
Honk. Do what you got to do. Just show your love because this is going to kill me.
All right, ready?
Yep.
Here we go. This all started because of Instagram.
Are you serious? Wait, is this another kerfuffle?
No, because I didn't respond to them. I just wrote a whole episode.
This is your response.
This is my response.
Got it.
Okay. And it's actually not even to the person who posted the Instagram post because they just asked a question. I am responding to the 60% of people who gave the wrong answer.
Okay, let's see it.
And based upon this person's following posts, I think they're with me on this.
Okay, let's go.
So the question was, should politics be a part of kink or should it be kept separate?
Well, I can tell you my opinion on that.
And 60% said keep politics out of kink spaces.
Oh, rah, I am so sorry. I probably will be yelling, and I probably will be bringing some certain things up that happened recently.
That is a very fucking privileged attitude to have.
Absolutely it is.
It is a very white attitude to have. It is a very straight attitude to have.
It's a very male attitude to have.
It's a very monogamous attitude to have. So here's the thing. I'm also going to do another little, I don't know if it's a trigger warning or just a warning. If you haven't fucking figured out by now that Dara and I are voting blue.
Are so liberal.
Okay? That we are very loud and proud Democrats. And we do not want Trump to win. We will be putting our votes down for Kamala Harris.
Absolutely. I have no problem putting that out there.
If that is something that bothers you,
get the fuck out of here.
I suggest you not listen to this episode, number one. But more importantly, seriously?
How can you be, I genuinely don't understand, how can you be a kinkster and still think that this is a good thing?
Right? So ready? Let's get into this. I have 9 pages of notes. You ready?
And everybody who's in the Discord knows who I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
All right. So why should kinksters even give a flying fuck about politics? Why does it matter? Why are those 60% of the people just wrong? Well, kink isn't something that we just do privately. It's actually affected by social and political systems. There are laws that absolutely impact the rights, safety, and freedoms of people in kink.
And we've talked about it so much.
Right? So these laws are going to make what we do illegal, which can scare people away from exploring kink.
Well, here's the thing. It already is. It already is illegal. Like, we're in Virginia. Do you notice how there's no clubs in Virginia? There's only house parties?
That's despite the fact that Virginia's for lovers.
Well, only if you're straight, white, monogamous lovers.
Yep.
And married.
There's also confusion around consent. What exactly is consent? What are the laws about consent? This can lead to legal troubles, even if everybody is consenting to the activity. Because, for example, right? You cannot legally consent to being abused.
Yep.
So if somebody in the legal system has decided that your kink is really abusive, it doesn't fucking matter that you have consented to it because you legally can't.
Both of ours are, because you like being beat to the point where they draw blood. Abuse.
I like beating somebody to the point that I draw blood.
Right. But just as an example, and then I like being literally verbally abused. What the fuck is that?
Yep. Legal and social problems are limiting access to education. Oh my God. Support groups and safe places for practicing kink.
I just went off on that.
Right. Politics is already impacting kink spaces. Do you guys know about the SESTA FOSTA laws?
The what?
The SESTA FOSTA laws.
Okay, I assume this is named after a person?
It's SESTA/FOSTA. I will talk about exactly what those are later in this episode. Let's just say, ever since this got passed, the point of them was to help control sex trafficking.
Mm-hmm.
But it's gone way beyond that. And now what's happened is it's caused many online BDSM forums and groups to shut down. It's meant the loss of safe, supportive spaces for connection, education, and advice. And these laws, even if not aimed at kink, are restricting our freedom and they impact our safety and well-being. So it's really important that we advocate for kink rights and for understanding to help protect and support each other in this community. So my goals here for this episode are to explore what the legal and social challenges are that we face as kinksters, as well as pointing out that those 60% were fucking wrong. And I encourage kinksters to stay informed and involved in politics because this fucking affects you. And if you think it doesn't, you're wrong.
Good luck. Because if you vote wrong and wrong things happen, you are quickly going to find out, and it's going to be a leopards ate my face situation.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's start off with the history of how politics has shaped kink. So some of the laws that impacted kink are things like the sodomy and obscenity laws, right? These old laws criminalized non-traditional sexuality. And even though they didn't affect us directly. They weren't meant to necessarily affect kinksters. They absolutely did. There was a fear of arrest because people were afraid that they could be arrested for their interests, even though everything was consensual and safe. I mean, just think about it, right? Sodomy is basically anal sex.
I think it was aimed at gay men, though, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And we will be talking about the connection between kinksters and gay rights. This also caused less education because the laws against the type of sexuality meant that people couldn't just go ahead and talk about it and teach about it. People had to hide who they were. There, again, back to confusion about the consent. How can you really understand what consent is because of these laws? I mean, here are some of the interesting old laws that are still on the books to this day. It is illegal to, quote unquote, seduce and debauch an unmarried woman in Michigan. In Texas, the possession of more than 6 dildos is prohibited.
Well, I'm fucked.
Literally and figuratively.
Yeah, many times
right?
over.
In North Carolina, it's actually illegal to live with a partner if the couple is unmarried.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Do they actually go after for people like for that?
Well, we're good.
Because that just seems like
right?
that'd be way too many.
In 18 states right now, they still make sexual acts illegal if at least one of the people involved is already married.
Good fucking luck with that one.
I actually know people who divorced and their spouse, because it was a nasty, bitter divorce, their spouse hit them up for adultery as the reason.
Even though it was a consensual one at the time, like they
were
had a threesome.
polyamorous.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's bullshit.
Okay, but it's still brought up. I mean, oops, my foot got stuck in there. My ex-husband, when we got divorced in Arizona, tried to bring up my kink life against me. And even his own lawyer said Arizona's a
no fault
state, number one. But even more importantly, unless you can prove that that has truly affected her as a mother, the judge is not going to care.
Right.
All right. But that's not the case. How many times do we know about people who their kink life has been brought up in divorce cases, in child custody issues? And we hear people talking about how they have to do it. And if your answer after hearing all of this, oh yeah, those are some old laws that are on the books, but they're not going to really get used.
They
really?
do.
Let me tell you about my old lovely state of Arizona. When Roe v. Wade was overturned, Arizona went back to its most previous law about abortion. Do you know when that most previous law from abortion was?
1800s?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was what was on the books. And the Republicans in charge at the time liked it that way and wanted to keep it that way. So if you come at me and you tell me, oh, these are old laws, nobody's going to ever affect them. I'm sorry, but, and I'm not talking about all Republicans in general. I'm talking about those cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
The ones that are in power, yes.
Right-wingers, right? Who don't care about women and their bodies. Or gays and their bodies. Or anybody who isn't a cishet white man. So it can happen, folks. And that's why this is so important. I'm just going to stay up on my soapbox the whole goddamn time.
That's what I figured.
Right?
I'm not moving it.
Thank you. So these obscenity laws then have resulted in censorship, right? There's laws against obscene materials, make it hard to find books and videos and classes about BDSM.
And porn.
Right? Look what's happening with porn. I know, I'm sorry. That's our lovely politicians hardly at work. Which, considering they're probably the ones who are using porn more than anybody else, seems really unfair.
I'd pay $1,000 to see his porn history.
Yeah. I don't think all right.
You're like, no, I wouldn't, because gross.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Right. People are afraid that they're going to get in trouble for owning or sharing BDSM content, so they're avoiding it. And there's just less awareness, right? When you don't have access to the education part of all of this, people don't know about consent or safety and different practices. And that's where things go horribly wrong. So let's bring a little bit more modern, how the modern effect is going on now. All right. So parts of these old laws still make it difficult for kink positive media today, especially online. If any of you have been listening to me at any point in this time, you have heard me rant and rave about the censorship that I deal with on social media. How we can't even use the word kink. We have to say the word quink.
Yeah, so that's kind of why I was originally very nervous about using the word kink in the podcast name. That's exactly the reason.
That doesn't seem to be a problem.
I know, but that's the reason.
You know why? Because everybody's assuming it's a kink for pink.
Yes. Which I do not have,
so you
but
can
you
use
do.
the term kink as long as it's not for something smexual. because that's another way. We can't say sex or sexual. We say smexual.
It sounds like smegma. I don't like that.
Right? It's the words we use on TikTok especially. Instagram is not as bad, but TikTok is very, very bad about that. So there's so many strict guidelines about adult content. And there's no definitive answer. You know, like the whole thing, porn, we'll know it when we see it.
Mm-hmm.
So right here's my example, right? TikTok won't let me say kink, but Instagram will let me say kink. Twitter X not only allows me to say fucking kink, but I can post a picture of my ass or boobs.
Yep.
Threads is owned by Instagram, so I'm assuming they go by Instagram standards. Creators are losing their accounts. I mean, we even have a name for it on TikTok. It's called Thanos.
Which, you know, must really, really make your Marvel fan ass happy.
It does. Oh, I just was reading a book the other day where in the character had never seen a Marvel movie. And I told the author, I said, oh my God, I screamed at the book.
Hey, Rara.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't watched any of the more recent ones in the last 5 years.
We're not going to talk about it.
You guys should see her face right now.
We're not going to talk about it. Right? There's legal risks if you post stuff. You know, there have been cases where performers have been prosecuted for filming their BDSM scenes, even though obviously everybody who is filming has given consent.
Yeah, and we actually know somebody who recently got into big time legal trouble for posting. And
hold that thought because I mention it.
Okay,
there's a list.
Pausing.
This is what happens when you don't look at the notes.
Pausing.
There's a list and an order to all of this.
Oh my God. Okay, I'll just be the comic relief.
Well, you do it so well.
I know.
Because you're really good
It's
at
my
it.
one job.
You're good at it. I'm still brown-nosing.
Are you saying that I'm funnier than you?
You have moments, yes. God, I can't. I don't want to be a liar. I'm okay with being a brown-noser, but not a liar. See, now you made me lose my train of thought.
See, really, really good at my one job.
But just to fuck with me.
Yes. Forget the whole comic relief part. It's literally just a fuck around with Rara. Where are we in these notes anyway?
We're still on page
2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm making progress. Come on, I got this.
Out of 9, I'm actually super proud of you.
Right? Well, because just wait, we're gonna get deeper into shit.
Oh,
because this
better
is
clean
shit.
my nose.
Yeah. Right. So, you've got online platform policies with websites like Tumblr and Reddit have completely banned adult content. And which has limited the sharing of kink-related communities and discussion, which is just not fair. Because when you limit education, then that's when you have these predators who take advantage of it and who go after these newbies, submissives.
Oh, and we have plenty of those. We already have enough of those. Can you imagine if it was worse?
Yeah.
If there was less education, like if we got banned?
Listen, remember you guys, we had Lady Attorney Steele come on and talk to us about contracts and her recommendations about not actually putting things in writing because they can be used against you in a court of law.
Mm-hmm.
And not always just because you're arrested for doing something illegal. You get divorced in a state that allows fault. Then your partner now has all of this ammunition against you.
Written, legal ammunition. Well, it may not be like a legal document, but it's still written.
It's still proof of intent. And even if you say, well, I'm the submissive, it's okay. Really? So you don't think that your asshole ex is going to go in front of a judge and go, there's something mentally wrong with my partner because they want this shit?
And you don't know that they're going to be an asshole until this happens.
No.
They could be the nicest person in the world for the entirety of your relationship, and then the assholery just comes out in court. It happens.
Listen, take it from two people who've been divorced twice.
Yeah.
All right? The person that you love is not the person who you're divorcing. And you go through that divorce, and anything and everything will be brought up, and all the stuff that you ever shared with them, your private inner thoughts, your fantasies, your desires, will now be used against you.
Well, thankfully that never happened with the second one because he was that much of a wuss.
Yeah.
And and honestly, a lot of it he understood was him. So it was more I could have used all this stuff against him Because when we got married, the plan was to have kids. Then it turned out he's asexual and never wanted to have sex. I could have used that.
Yeah.
I could have gotten a damn annulment.
My first divorce, he so would have used it against me, but I was vanilla at the time. He tried to blame postpartum depression as the reason I wanted the divorce, not because he was an abusive asshole.
No, they never are in their own heads.
So let's talk about some of, as I mentioned earlier, gay rights and how that is intertwined with kinks. So there's been obviously more anti-gay rights legislation out there.
Ugh, it's vile.
And it's affected those in kink because both communities are seen as quote-unquote deviant.
And honestly, like a huge amount of people in the kink community are queer.
Yeah.
Of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
Rara isn't, but she's weird.
No, but I am vanilla with, I am straight with sprinkles.
You're queer adjacent.
I'm queer adjacent. And I am an ally.
Yes.
An absolute ally. Right? If we don't protect LGBTQ plus rights, then the kink communities are also going to suffer. Because any laws that target non-traditional relationships make it unsafe for kinksters because our relationships are non-traditional.
Very much. I mean, seriously. Well, I mean, calling your partner daddy has... Okay. Have you seen... Oh my God, this is the funniest thing. There's a thing going around right now where boomers, you know how boomers and millennials never really got along because it's, our parents and whatnot. We just skipped over you Gen Xers.
And we're ignored. It's what we've always been ignored since we were children.
And then Gen Z got into the whole thing and now everybody's mad at Gen Alpha because they're just fucking weird. But Gen X has always been skipped over because you guys were like, I don't care.
We don't.
But anyway, so there's a thing right now going around on TikTok that's talking about how boomers are complaining that millennials sexualize the word daddy. And I've even seen this with younger kids. Ooh, daddy. Like they moan it. It's disgusting to hear it out of their mouths. But
my daughter hates the word daddy because she said too many have sexualized it. She's a Gen Z.
Right. Millennials apparently sexualize the word daddy. But here's the thing. They said, why did you sexualize the word daddy? It's because boomers sexualize the word baby.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. How are you going to get mad? How are you going to get mad when you called your spouse baby in the first place? Does that scream CGL to you?
I don't think about it.
Yep.
Because I stopped
you
calling
grew up with that.
I stopped calling my dad daddy when I was like 5.
Okay.
So
I stopped calling my dad daddy when I got a daddy.
Yeah. No, I stopped calling him daddy when I was like 5.
Literally third husband. Daddy J right now. That was when I stopped calling my dad daddy.
But at least he's never become father. Unlike my mom who went from mama to mommy to mom to mother.
I usually call my mom Ma a lot of the time.
Well, there's the names that call her to her
I could call her
face
mother.
And the names that call her behind her back. Those are very different.
Yeah. No, I mostly call mine Ma and Dad.
But right, if everything is about traditional versus non-traditional, and they look at if they think that gay couples are deviant, what the hell do you think they're going to think about polyamorous couples?
Yeah,
couples, groups, whatever.
Well, I mean, thruples is 3, and then there's polyamory, which is like a whole shitload more.
3 is still polyamory.
Yes, but it's a specific word is thruple.
Yes.
Okay, so I don't want my queer platonic polycule to go away. I love my queer platonic polycule.
Well, and they won't even understand it.
Oh my God, yes, because even somebody in kink, this legitimately happened. I don't remember. You were there for it.
I know all about this. I was there. I heard it. Yes.
Okay. Remember how we literally had to explain to our kinky friend who is polyamorous what a queer platonic, I can't fucking say it. Help.
Queer platonic polycule.
Thank you. What that even is?
Listen, I had to explain to somebody how I can call naughty and nice my platonic life partner.
Best friend, like easy, done.
But that's all. All of this is evolving all the time, and so we're evolving faster than legislation is evolving, and we already have.
Yes,
I mean,
that's
think
always
about
been
it.
the case. Though.
If gays aren't supposed to be able to marry, then there's only one place in all of the United States that I'm aware of where you can have polyamorous marriage.
Where?
There's a town in
Utah?
Massachusetts. No, Massachusetts.
Really?
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. I would live there. I would actually live in Massachusetts because fuck yeah, put me in Salem.
I've lived in Massachusetts. I loved it. It's my favorite place in the entire world.
I hate snow, but I would brave it for Salem.
It's my favorite. I lived in this cute little town in Massachusetts that literally had one stoplight in the entire town.
Okay, that's it. We're going on a trip next year for sometime in Halloween, and we're going to go to Salem, Massachusetts, and hang out in B&B.
There's little to no kink life there, though. So just
I mean, just for like an extended weekend. I just want to do it one time.
So you've got right, and if you think about it, so if gays can't get married and gays aren't supposed to, and can't have children, then what do they think about somebody who likes to zap people for a living? Could you be safe to have a child? It's all you see is related. Anytime something looks different.
I feel like that was aimed directly at me.
You think?
I don't know how I got that feeling.
Amazing. You are so smart.
I know. I got PhD in SMRT.
So there's a link between gay rights, gay activism, and kink activism. So you've got like the early Pride events. And I am repeating this. I am not going into a discussion if kink should be at Pride events or not. That could be an entire other episode, and I don't even know enough about it to have a firm opinion other than people I know and trust have told me, yes, they should. And so that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. But the point is they have been there. Early Pride events, like in the first ones in the 1970s, included groups that were focused specifically on kink and leather culture. And if you know anything about leather culture, then you know that it started with gay men.
Yeah, one of my friends is a gay leather bear daddy.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was at the party last night. Absolutely adore him. He wore the cutest little onesie because we were having like a costume party. And underneath the onesie was one of his favorite leather harnesses.
There you go.
And he's a furry man.
Hence the bear.
Yeah, he's definitely a bear.
All right. So we've already been linked from day one. And kink groups like Leather Dykes and Gay Leathermen were marching openly to show their pride. They're the ones who got the whole thing Pride started. So we've already been linked. And there's still an overlap between gay rights and kink activism.
There's kink at Pride. That's a whole different soapbox.
Oh, I just said that.
But you were talking about how they were linked. I'm talking about like in the parades.
Oh, yeah, they're still there.
Yeah.
Right? But LGBTQ plus rights movements have helped bring more acceptance to non-traditional relationships, including kink. It's opened doors for greater understanding and acceptance. And we need to keep fighting, and we need to keep fighting together. So let's talk about some of the legal recognition in BDSM. Let's talk about specifically starting with consent, right? So while the kink community obviously values consent, some legal systems just don't recognize consent as a defense if someone's hurt. Give you a case example. In 1993, so we're not talking that long ago. Well, in my head, it's not that long ago.
It's only 10 years ago.
To some of you youngins, it might seem long ago, but I was already a married woman by 1993. So
I was in 5th grade.
You were
maybe 4th grade.
You were 10.
Well, yeah, but my birthday is at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I don't know when in the end of the year this happened. So.
I don't know when either.
All right. So this actually happened in the UK. 2 men were prosecuted for consensual BDSM activities. They were having a negotiated and consented to scene that involved bondage and whipping. Apparently, they were not the quietest people in the world, and calls were made to the police. When the police showed up and became involved, they saw visible marks on the bodies of these men, and they charged them with assault.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're in front of the judge, or whatever, magistrate, whatever they call it over there.
Guy with wig.
All right. The court ruled that the consent did not protect them from prosecution, and they were both convicted.
Oof.
Okay. So we're talking 1993 is still pretty modern, folks.
Yeah, I don't think that's changed very much.
Okay. So now this brings in things like consent counts and RAC. So let's talk about RAC for a minute real quick. Risk-aware consensual kink. Legal protections for kink activities are lacking or unclear. So that's why we need to fully be aware of all the risks involved in everything that we do. And RAC does that. RAC promotes that responsibility and clear agreements, and especially that stuff with higher risks. So by utilizing RAC, you can better protect yourself and each other because you've openly discussed and accepted those potential risks before you start playing. Now let's talk about consent counts. This is a project by the National Coalition for Sexual Freedom, NCSF. Now, NCSF and their consent counts program fights for better legal protections for consensual kink. So they aim to educate people. That's part one of what they do with this program. They aim to educate people about consent in sexual and kink activities. The project emphasizes that clear, informed consent is essential for all types of relationships and all types of activities. Consent Counts provides tools, guides, and workshops to help people understand consent even better and help them practice it. And the ultimate goal is to promote a culture where consent is respected and valued. I will say that is the one thing that I have definitely seen our younger generations have dramatically improved upon what we had done. Mm-hmm. And that is in regard to consent. And it's not just within kink and within sex. It's within everything. And I love that.
Like hair touching.
Yeah.
Growing up, we never, ever thought about that. And now, it's a huge, big deal.
It is. And there's still too many people who do it, who still touch and don't understand.
Yeah.
But we're much better about it. And I think our next step is to remind people that even within family and loved ones, you still have to get consent. Because I think we've made huge progress in not touching strangers.
Yeah, but not family.
But not friends and family who deserve the same respect.
And let's just say acquaintances that you see at social events. Not all of them want to hug you. And if you ask for a hug and they're hesitating, don't just stand there with your arms open and go, come on.
Yeah, I mean, it's even little kids at 2 or 3 years old are allowed to say no.
Yep.
And that no should be respected. There's also been, so let's talk about some activism reducing kink stigma. The LGBTQ plus influence on accepting of kinks, because they've helped push us for visibility and acceptance. As I said, these early Pride marches often included kink communities also fighting for acceptance because we all fall under the same umbrella of diverse sexualities and lifestyles. Even the sex positive and feminist movement has been helpful for kinksters because it's helped break taboos, indirectly supporting BDSM and kink. And feminist activists promote open sexuality, creating more space for kinksters to gather, learn, and connect. And feminist activists, it's all about your ability to choose what you want to do and have autonomy over yourself and your body.
Exactly. If you want to be a stay-at-home, be a stay-at-home if that's what you really want. The point is to not have anybody force you to be a stay-at-home.
Right, which it all comes back to the whole concept of consent. So let's talk about the online censorship and the SESTA FOSTA, because this is a big one. So what is SESTA FOSTA and why does it even matter? Well, these were laws that were passed to combat sex trafficking by holding online platforms accountable for hosting sex-related content. Seems like a good idea, right? We all agree. Sex trafficking, bad.
Yes.
We should do what we can to stop sex trafficking. But as with so much of the way our lovely government works, the law is vaguely worded and leaves it very much open to interpretation. And so a lot of companies, in its quest to better safe than sorry, a lot of online platforms, they were really worried about anything regarding sexual content, even educational or consensual kink discussions, because they were really afraid that they would be penalized or worse, shut down. Platforms are now liable for any content that their users post, unlike how it used to be.
Right.
Okay. It used to be, I could post a blog on WordPress, and WordPress could go, listen, we're just the hosting site, dude. We didn't write this stuff. We don't take the pictures. We have nothing to do with it. So I'm not liable for it. The government said, cool. Well, thanks to SESTA FOSTA, now their attitude is, no, WordPress, you are responsible.
Sucks for them.
So the problem, but it sucks for you because now WordPress is like, oh, well, I don't want to risk getting shut down or having to spend millions of dollars in penalties. So we've now written out these rules that are so restrictive in order for you to post content on here. And I'm just throwing out WordPress. I don't know what their rules are.
Mm-hmm. It's just the one that you use.
That's the one I use for our website. So yeah. So a lot of platforms began banning or heavily restricting adult content, even when that adult content was educational content. Okay? I mean, if you just think about it, like all these rules on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and all of this is all a part of these SESTA FOSTA laws. And our sex workers, and guess who falls under sex workers? Pro-doms are affected by this and what they can and can't post. I remember because all this came out big time when I was dating my girlfriend, Mistress Lucille, who is a pro-dom. And she had to find newfangled ways to advertise because a lot of the ways she used to advertise was no longer allowed for her to post. Here's some other examples of things. Let's talk about Reddit, for example. Some kink-focused communities were banned or tightly controlled, and even posts about safe BDSM practices and consent were removed, which now makes it harder for people to find helpful info and support. Twitter account. Some kink educators and sex workers actually had their entire account suspended for sharing educational content. Even though they followed the rules, their posts were flagged due to the platform's worry. And let's talk about FetLife, because you would think, right, FetLife, that's fetish, that's fine. We're fine there. We're okay there. No. FetLife had its own issues several years ago, for those of you who've been around long enough, and they had to make some changes. And these changes were based because of payment processors. You know how you are a supporter and you give money? Well, you may have noticed that the way you can give money is now changed because Visa, MasterCard, those credit card companies, they put their foot down and they wouldn't work with FetLife because they didn't want to risk getting charged and penalized with all of this. So they've had to completely limit or change how they handled payments for their premium services. They removed or restricted certain types of content that could be seen as risky. They really buckled down on any pro-dom services and advertising for that.
Even like charging for parties. You can't list it.
That's a state thing. You can list the cost on FetLife.
But
that's a state thing.
We couldn't advertise for the electro party. We couldn't advertise the VIP ticket exactly and the cost and what it was.
That's probably the way she set it up because I've always been able to put prices, but that you listed as donation. Right? They took down specific groups and profiles associated with fetishes or activities that could be legally risky. I've been affected by it because all my blood play pictures could no longer be public. My blood play pictures have to be friends only. That's never my choice. That is theirs. So that's why I tell people I try not to accept tons and tons of friend requests. You can see everything that I post because I have nothing set for private except for the blood play pictures. And that's not a me choice. That's a FetLife choice. So even FetLife has been affected by all of this. So how does this affect our sex workers and our marginalized communities? Well, you've got fewer safe spaces online because these many online platforms for sex workers and kink educators closed or limited content. I remember just very recently, just to show you how it's still affecting us, very recently, Sunny Megatron, who is an amazing, well-known kink educator to the point that she actually had a show on Showtime educating about kink. So we're not talking about, like little old me who's just locally known. This is somebody who's internationally known. She ran into trouble because her classes were available on, what is it called? Is it called Gumdrop? Gumshoe? Gum something. A platform that all of a sudden they were not allowing her to sell access to her educational classes because they're sex related. There's the laws make negative use of sex work and kink stronger, causing people to feel isolated and afraid. Where you could used to have things online so that sex workers could protect themselves. Now we're going backward and we're going into areas where they're just not as safe. There's increased risk because people are connecting in riskier ways. There's less access to information. This is, to me, one of the saddest things. Like what happened with Sunny is that you've got educational resources about safe practices in kink and sex work. They're harder to find, and they're limiting your learning opportunities. I mean, it's all great if you're lucky like us and you live in an area where you can get in-person education easily, but we're the exception, not the rule.
Very much the exception.
And so for a lot of people, online is the only way that they can get their education. And so now if you've restricted that, then there's privacy concerns and outing risks, right? The stigma of being outed is kinky. You could lose your job. Family issues. As Dara had mentioned earlier, we have a friend who was outed.
Big time outed.
And lost their job as a result. Our friends over at Loving BDSM, JB, has talked about how he got outed at work.
Well, didn't you kind of get outed and lose out on a job?
That was my own fault, though.
I know,
yes.
but still.
Yeah. I was doing a Zoom interview and dumb old me forgot to change my Zoom name, which said Pink Kink Podcast.
Yeah, that almost happened to me. I had mine set up as, I think it was Dara. It wasn't Electro Khaleesi, but it was Dara. And we had a meeting scheduled with my boss, and I didn't realize that it was set up for Dara at the time. So my coworker, who knows, said that was my, I think she said con name.
Mm-hmm.
It's a name that I go by it, like, because I always told him that I went to steampunk conventions and writing conventions when I took off of work for like kink stuff. So he totally accepted this lie as like, all right, that's just her con persona. She does that. She's weird, whatever. But luckily my friend came up with that on the fly because I don't think I would have been that quick.
Right. And again, all of this is tied into the fact that all of these laws and societal and political pressure has put such a stigma on what we do that people want nothing to do with us.
Right.
Which is a shame. There's healthcare issues, judgmental healthcare attitudes. Now, I know a lot of people who work in healthcare, and from my understanding, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, for the majority, specifically in emergency services, they don't give a flying fuck because their only focus is on dealing with the emergency and making sure you're okay. But I have a friend, and she'll know who I'm talking about when she hears this, who went with her husband to the doctor for an appointment, and she had bruises from their activities. And they separated her and her husband.
Mm-hmm.
And the doctor was like, I can help you. I can help you. And she's like, this is consensual. We're fine. And the doctor wouldn't believe her. Like, no matter how many times she kept saying, it's consensual, it's fine, the doctor wouldn't believe her. They ended up having to find a new doctor.
Oh, wow. How long were they with that doctor?
I don't know, because it's not so much how long they were with the doctor, because it might have just been that was the time she had bruises.
Mm-hmm.
So now I've had only positive experiences. I was full of bruises when I went to go do a heart workup because family history. It was just a checkup. My heart is fine. Thank you very much. And I didn't think it through as to what kind of checkup this would be. And I had quite the fucking hell of a beating on my boobs. It wasn't even on my ass where they would never have known about it. It was on my boobs.
Yeah, because you have to do things weird.
And so I think it was soon after I broke up with D, who never allowed me to do boob.
Oh, yeah. So you went
beating,
ham on
so
them?
I went ham after. It was my F you to you. And I just very casually, before they even opened up my shirt to put the electrodes on, I said, by the way, you will see bruises. They are from consensual kinky sex. And somebody recommended that if you just make, it was rough sex. Somehow people are more understanding of rough sex than kink.
Same thing.
Right? But many kinksters are hesitant to get health care because they're worried about being judged from medical professionals, especially, if you come in with like kids and stuff and they see, they're going to make the next place. Workplace discrimination. There's employment risks for kinksters. There's a reason you don't see Dara's face on social media.
Yeah. We talked earlier about how we finally, Rara figured out how to do the classes. I'm happy to do the classes. I cannot be recording them and selling that because anybody could access it.
Yeah.
There's a expectation in the Discord. I show my face in the Discord. I show my face at the Munches. There's a expectation that you keep my identity private. I keep your identity private.
Right.
You know? And that so far has worked out really, really well.
Well, but you're also, because you're limiting it to only other kinksters who are going to have the same. There's a difference between when it's out in the public. I mean, I have posted things on TikTok that has come across the vanillas.
Yes.
And they have made comments. Not very kind comments.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. They're wrong.
Yes.
It's okay.
Well, vanillas usually are. But
yeah.
anyway.
No, I'm gonna say they're not. They just have their own thing.
Messing.
But the judgmental assholes are always wrong.
Yes.
Well, just in case anybody's listening, I don't want to get hate mail. Please don't send me hate mail.
That
hurts my feelings.
Send it to me. I don't care. That'd be funny.
Yeah, Dari doesn't care. So you know, we talked about our friend JB over at Loving BDSM. People have actually fucking lost their jobs. Now, meanwhile, I have a friend who worked for the FBI who kept a picture of him with his wife and a picture of him with his girlfriend, and he was fine. So you
Lucky
just never,
asshole.
You never know. But we got to work on advocacy for kink protections in the workplace. I don't understand. I've never known anybody to lose their job because they cheated on their spouse.
No, and that's not fair.
Because if you ask the spouse, that was non-consensual.
That is way more dishonest.
Right. And so there are some groups out there that are working to include kink and anti-discrimination laws to protect people. But this is why you got to get involved in this shit. There's increased surveillance and legal risks of practicing BDSM. Criminalization of private behavior. People have actually faced legal consequences due to misunderstandings of consensual BDSM, as domestic violence specifically, right? Like I talked about the one that did the UK, but this one is actually much more recent. So in case you're wondering, does this shit happen? Yeah, it does. Because this was only in 2015. So we're only talking 9 years ago, and this was in the U.S. There's a U.S. couple engaged in a consensual scene that had bondage and spanking. Neighbors overheard the loud noises and called the police, thinking there was a domestic violence situation happening. Now, I don't blame the neighbors. I appreciate the fact that the neighbors wanted to get involved because they were worried about domestic violence. So no hate and shame to these neighbors. But when the police arrived, they found the couple in the middle of their scene. And despite having absolutely consented to these activities, the officers misinterpreted the situation. They could not convince these officers that this was not DV, but actual consensual BDSM. And so they were investigated for DV. Now, they were able to eventually prove their activities were consensual. But what was the cost?
But how do you
cleared their
prove
knees,
that?
but what was the cost?
How do you prove that?
I would imagine you could show books on BDSM that you have in your house, classes you've took, something that shows that you are involved in the kink world. Okay? But how much? This cost them stress, financial strain probably of having to hire legal help to get them out of this. They're very lucky. I don't know if they had kids or not, but if they had kids, they didn't lose them. And if you follow all this true crime shit all over like I like to, a lot of child protection services like to take kids away for reasons that are not actually legit.
Yeah.
So then there's issues with surveillance technology. I'm in a household with 2 people and 4 Alexas. Okay? But I know a lot of people. At one point, I wanted to put an Alexa down in the dungeon for the sole purpose of a clock and music, because I like to do a playlist, so that way I could use it for music. The amount of my friends who are like, no, please don't.
Right. Because it can record it.
Because we're afraid of who will hear us.
Right.
And I respected that, so I don't have an Alexa in the dungeon. That's absolutely legit. I've always said I don't care if they're listening to me. Good luck. It's the least of what they're probably hearing me do and say. But again, I am very privileged in that I am out about what I do.
Not about to do that.
And I am mostly out at work. And the reason I say mostly is because I've never said I'm kinky. What I say is I'm in alternative lifestyles. I let them know I've also used the word polyamorous. And I'm very lucky. One of my bosses has an aunt who's polyamorous and a friend who's gay and polyamorous. So she's very well exposed to this. So she's like, cool, whatever. Doesn't affect my ability to do my job.
Right.
But I'm also recognized that I'm blessed and privileged in that. And I am, again, the exception, because why am I ever the norm? I'm always the exception. I just had that conversation with somebody else. They used the word normal. I'm like, what is normal? I like to make people bleed and finger paint in it. No one's calling me normal.
Not at all on that one.
So I recognize very much that I'm not the norm in this. But people are worried about Big Brother listening. And if you think Big Brother's not listening, then talk to your friend about something near an electronic device and then go on to Facebook or Instagram and all of a sudden you get ads about the thing you were talking about.
Nope, that still happens.
Which
and
honestly,
apparently Facebook has thought I was pregnant for like the last 15 years.
Okay. Listen, I am okay with the fact that they're showing me the ads about something that I talked about wanting to buy because that's cool. I just wish there was a way to say to it, I bought it now. Can you stop showing me the ads?
Right. Well, TikTok's really bad about that.
That's what I need them to start doing. I've bought it. Thank you for all the information. Can we now move on? All right. So now let's get to, I'm over halfway through and I'm just not getting into the heart of, so why should we be staying politically aware? Well, the importance of legal awareness is you need to know your rights so that you understand what the laws are. And remember, guys, there's, especially for those of us here in the United States, of which most of our listeners are, there's federal laws and there's state laws. Federal laws trump state laws. But if there's no federal law, then state law is it. And different states have different laws. And blue states have different laws than red states, as we have unfortunately learned this election cycle. You want to prevent any misunderstandings. So if you know the legal definitions, you can help avoid confusion. You can help being aware of laws about sexual expression helps kinksters locate safe online and community spaces. So for example, R2 public dungeons abso-fucking-lutely allow complete 100% nudity and complete 100% sexual activities. You could walk into R2 dungeons and watch people fucking. Watch penises, in vaginas, in assholes.
In mouths, in ears,
I've
wherever.
never seen anybody with it in the ear.
I did.
I'm so sorry.
It was weird.
I know, but acceptable. So you can do all that. You go to other states and other dungeons, rules are different. I know for a fact because I have friends who own a dungeon down in Florida. They are not allowed to have full sexual activities. There will be no, and for some states, no sexual activities means you couldn't even use a vibrator or a dildo.
I'm honestly surprised that Florida even has dungeons.
They do, but they have interesting rules. Like the door, in order for them to be nude, the door has to be closed a certain way. So they have a dungeon. They have the main lobby area, and then they have the two playrooms. And each playroom has a door because that door has to be shut in order for them to be naked on the other side. It's interesting. You want to support legal change, so staying informed allows you to advocate for laws that support and protect us. Knowing your rights can help you plan safer ways to practice kink and minimize your exposure to legal issues. You want to advocate for safe and inclusive communities, like dungeons, right? You want to make sure you don't want the predators to go and just have people keep coming over to their house or show up. The amount of people I hear who said, yeah, there's no dungeon near me, so we just meet up at the house. Well, that's great if you've got a vet person that you know well and you're safe with, but sadly, it's not always the case. You want to work alongside LGBTQ groups and sex workers and help build a stronger, more united voice because we're stronger together and we're all looking for the same thing. We just want to be ourselves. You want to reduce stigma through visibility and activism. Change public perception of kink. Speak up and when you can. Don't put yourself at risk, folks. I am by no means telling you this, but for those people like me who have the privilege and the honor of being able to be out, speak up and help shift public attitudes towards acceptance and understanding. What I do this person by person by person. I talk to them about kink and about consent and about the fact that we're just like anybody else. We just have different interests. I think people who like to stand in a boat and fish all damn day are weird. Like, why would you want to do that?
You know what's even worse than doing that?
What?
Watching it on TV.
I understand people who play golf.
I don't understand people that watch golf.
The watching golf is really, and what's really funny is that when they watch golf, somehow they still talk quietly as if
It's
the people
so
on
fucking
TV could,
stupid.
It's just, yeah. Educate the public about the fact that what we do involves consent. And anything and everything they hear about and see is consent. And if there's no consent, then it is abuse, and you have the right to be angry and frustrated. Find out what the new legislation, that's not easy for me to say, new legislation about privacy and online content and discrimination, because they're constantly evolving. So staying politically aware is going to help prepare you for maybe fighting out against things, maybe keeping you safe because you're aware of what you're working against. Encourage inclusive policies. Support those policies that are protecting privacy and sex-positive education and promote workplace inclusivity so that If I'm in a throuple, I can show up at my picnic, my company picnic with both of my partners, and it's fucking okay. All right, so what can you do? How can you get involved politically? Well, join or support kink advocacy groups. National Coalition for Sexual Freedom, NCSF. They are working their asses off to defend kink rights and provide legal support. They are working to change laws. They're giving information about legal rights. They're connecting people with lawyers when they do need help, and specifically kink lawyers. They offer training on consent and legal topics. They're gathering information about legal problems to raise awareness. Check out their website. There's, I believe, and if I am wrong here, I'm apologizing. I believe they're the ones who really started the kink aware professionals. So you can look up and find lawyers and doctors and therapists, whatever, that all started. And NCFS is an amazing thing. And you can donate or volunteer or tell people about it. Like even just telling people about it, that smallest contribution of telling people, go there, check it out, is so important. You can do fundraisers. I remember Lucy had a birthday party, and the entire birthday party was a fundraiser for NCSF. And
I remember that.
Right? Stay informed and follow the laws and the policies affecting sexuality and privacy, and keep an eye out on any new bills that might affect us. You ready? Vote. Fucking vote. Vote in your local and national elections. Every single vote's going to help support leaders who understand or respect consensual lifestyles. Okay, and here we are. I need a second soapbox because I need to be a little taller for this one, and
okay,
I'm short.
On.
Let's look at our two candidates, our two choices for president. Okay, start with Kamala Harris, right? Support for LGBTQ plus rights. She is a strong advocate for that. She's generally supported policies that promote sexual freedom and the rights of marginalized communities, including those involved in kink. She has a focus on consent and safety. She emphasizes the importance of consent and safety in all sexual practices, which aligns with the principles that we have in the kink community. And she's an advocate for sexual education. She supports comprehensive sex education, which includes discussions about consent, sexual health, and diverse sexual practices, potentially benefiting kink communities by promoting understanding and acceptance. Now let's look at Donald Trump. He has very limited support for LGBTQ plus issues. His administration has been criticized for rolling back protections for LGBTQ plus individuals, which obviously can indirectly affect those of us in the kink community because it is perpetuating this entire climate of discrimination. And once you can discriminate against them, you can start to discriminate against everybody else. He's got a huge focus on law and order. And his approach may lead to more strict enforcement of these oddball laws that everybody laughs at because, oh my God, those are so old. Except we're going to enforce them. And it's going to affect those of us in the kink community, potentially increasing risks for all of us and potentially resulting in us ending up in jail. All right? So those are your choices, folks. I think the choice is pretty obvious. Connect with your local LGBTQ plus or sex positive organizations. Collaborate because we have shared goals. We all want privacy, personal freedom, and acceptance. Attend events and build alliances because together we amplify our voices. And then advocate for kink education and awareness. Promote kink-aware resources to friends, family, or others who are open to hearing so that they can understand kink beyond the stereotypes. Support inclusive sex education in schools. Sex education specifically that covers consent, privacy, and a respectful view of diverse sexual expressions, including kink. So, in conclusion, politics does affect us. And to think that it doesn't is just, it's blindness. It's just absolute blindness. And the current issues that we face are important and can affect your life. You can lose your job. You can lose your kids. You can lose your family. All of this could be affected. So you need to make sure that you are involved and you are getting out there and vote. I am encouraging you to stay informed and advocate for your rights and join forces with other groups working for personal freedom and privacy. And finally, this is coming out on Friday, November 1st. If you have not already voted and done early voting, I am begging you, go to the polls on Tuesday. Make your voice heard. Every vote counts. And if you think they don't count, then you haven't been paying any attention to the politics as of lately. Because some places, people have won by tiny amounts. And this goes beyond just our federal presidential election. Because the laws of your state are done by your local people. So get out and vote for your local state senators and your local state congresspeople. And get those out. I am very proud that in Virginia, we had the first, I believe, trans person as a state congressperson, and I think they're running for the federal House of Representatives now.
Yeah, she's going hard.
Yeah, I love her. So get out there and vote,
and hell, vote for mayor.
Yeah, mayor,
vote for everything.
Governor, vote for everything. Read what are those things called?
Pamphlets.
The pamphlets that they send you, but the specific individual ballot things.
Oh, yeah. And these people are fucking tricky. So really make sure you dig.
Okay. It is your American right to vote. It is your responsibility to vote. And if you are going to call yourself a kinkster, then fucking goddamn vote. Because if you don't, and this country loses by going red, then the entire kink world that you knew and loved
goes in the toilet.
Is going away. Thanks for hanging out with us today. If you enjoyed what you heard, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a minute of our fun and educational content. New episodes drop every Friday.
If you love what we do and want to show support, there are several ways. Join us on Patreon at patreon.com/pinkkinkpodcast. You can support our affiliates or help spread the word about our kinky podcast to your friends.
Don't forget to rate and review Pink Kink on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Those 5-star reviews go a long way in boosting our podcast through the algorithm and reaching more listeners.
Sign up for our Pink Kink Institute classes. Shop at our Etsy shop, Pink Kink Boutique. Stay connected with us on social media. You'll find all the links on our link tree posted in the show notes.
Your support means the world to us. So until next time, stay pretty, stay safe,
and stay twisted.